The first topic is the better defensive player. Dub will be in the support of Bam Adebayo. Then we got Young Africa in support of AD Anthony Davis. Again, who is the better defensive player? We're gonna start off with Dub.
Let me know when the time. Oh, okay. Yeah, for me, man, Bam Adebayo has been one of the most underrated defenders within the last 3 to 4 years. Never being able in DPO, never being in talks of defensive player of the year. Sometimes even getting snubs from All NBA defenses, first team. Bam Adebayo and what he's been able to do for the Miami Heat in the last 4 seasons has been nothing short but immaculate, man. The same love that people give Draymond Green for what he was doing on the Golden State Warriors, I don't understand why Bam Adebayo doesn't get that same love as well, especially in a generation of players where versatility is king, where you have so many guys who can sit here and attack on the perimeter and the interior. The guy who can both be versatile and a lockdown defender on the perimeter and on the interior, challenging the likes of Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, also switching out to Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Trae Young. A man who's shown, and even going up against a guy like Jokic, a guy who's that versatile, be that great of a one-on-one defender. And the reason why we don't need any backline help is because of his ability to stay in front of his man and his ability to keep guys from going into the interior. So a guy like that, who's that crucial on the Miami Heat's defense, not being the best player, the best defender in the league right now, doesn't make sense to me. Who's also shown a great ability to be a roamer, a great ability to be a rim protector as well when it's called to. Miami Heat just doesn't utilize him that way because the way that's more beneficial to our team, to the defense in today's generation, is for a guy to be versatile.
Hey, look, man. AD is everything Dub said, but just better. Straight up. Look, AD is versatile. He guards defenders. He guards multiple positions, switches onto guards. He defends wings. He plays on the perimeter. He protects the rim. He's got a 7'6" wingspan, right? And he's a way better shot blocker than Bam. This debate is about what's the separation, though, between Bam Adebayo and AD. And the separation, one, is rim protection. AD has led the league in blocks 3 times. He's leading the league in blocks this season, and he averages over two blocks a game for his whole career. Bam don't even average 1 block a game, and we're talking about it like he's that elite when it comes to rim protection. Dub says that's not how they utilize him, but at the end of the day, you are utilized to the strengths of what you do well, right? And so what's the separation truly when it comes after the skill set? And that is the biggest of moments. What happened in 2020 in the NBA Finals when Bam Adebayo and AD matched up one-on-one in terms of their impact on defense? What happened? Well, when he comes onto the court, AD shut down the Miami Heat defense offense. They were 17 points worse with AD on the court. So when you look at that, and then you see that when Jimmy Butler goes off of that 40-point triple-double in Game 3, and Dub was cheering and all happy and shit, and then he switches on to Jimmy Butler AD in Game 4 and shuts that shit down and holds him to like 25% shooting when he's guarding him. You understand the impact to AD. He can switch out on the perimeter, clamp up. He can do in the biggest moments, and he showed in winning time that he can do that, man. Stop it, bro. Stop.
Yeah, I find it funny he brought up the 2020 NBA Finals where the whole entire team was hurt. It's outside of Jimmy Butler, and even then, AD is not the same one-on-one defender that he used to be. He did get slower, and he has been cooked a lot recently, more than he did in that season, right? So if 2020 was your argument, I can understand that. But AD is slower. He's not the same one-on-one defender that he used to be. He gets cooked by guards, and even against guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, a guy that's cooked him in the past. Bam Adebayo is a guy where Giannis struggles immensely against him. Giannis struggles immensely against Miami Heat and what we can do. And if you're going to hold on to something that happened 4 years ago, I mean, by all means you can, but AD is not the same player. The injury's stacking up. He's a little bit slower as well. He's not the same one-on-one defender. And Bam Adebayo being the better one-on-one defender on both the perimeter and the interior. I mean, we're not seeing him go up against guys like Trae Young, go up against guys like JT and Jaylen Brown, and at the same time, within the same time span, going up to challenge the likes of a Joel Embiid, a Jokic. All of this happened within the last 2 seasons. So this is something that he has shown us the ability to do, to play that great level of defense. You want to talk about rim protecting? That's something I will give you. AD is a better shot blocker and rim protector. That's something I will not be willing to argue. But in a generation of players where versatility is king, in a generation like of today where guys who are versatile is more crucial to being a great defense. If you could look at the Orlando Magic, part of the reason why they're a great defense is because of their ability to be versatile. So that's the case today.
Hey, at the end of the day, versatility doesn't go to Bam, though. AD is more versatile. He's better at the rim, better in the paint, and he's better switching out. I can go to last season and look at what AD did in the playoff run last season to the conference finals. He was the best defender in the NBA in the playoffs. He was the best defender every single time he was on the court. We saw when they came up against Golden State Warriors and what he did with Steph Curry. He shut down the whole paint scoring of the Golden State Warriors last season and relegated Steph Curry and Klay Thompson taking whack shots on the perimeter. We saw when he switched out to Steph Curry on a pivotal play in the clutch in the fourth quarter that he turned Steph Curry into a straight up step back jump shooter and taking bad shots on the perimeter. This is the effect of AD. AD is able to switch out onto the perimeter. AD is able to guard two players at the same time in the pick and roll. AD's ability to be an elite paint protector and at the same time still be able to switch out and close out. You know, when it comes to efficiency and the numbers, that AD in the last 5 seasons holds opponents to the lowest field goal percentage on jump shots. His contested shots on jump shots is the lowest field goal percentage of any player in NBA when it comes to the last 5 seasons, showing you that he's able to do it outside and inside according to the numbers, Dub. And so the context of how Bam's versatile, he is versatile, but he ain't no more versatile than AD. AD's got bigger wingspan. AD's taller. AD can be more physical in the post. AD in general is a better defender.
Yeah, you talk about versatility with AD. AD's not the most versatile guy. Like, he's just not what he used to. Maybe, like I said, if you want to talk about 2020, yeah, I think you could probably have a way better argument. But Bam Adebayo and what he's been doing, like, there's a reason why we don't need any backline help. There's a reason why Bam Adebayo is sitting here guarding up on the perimeter, and we don't even have a guy on the back line at all. You have Jimmy Butler and maybe even Kyle Lowry roaming, and that's because of his ability to be that great versatility-wise. So you lying about him, the AD being a great and better versatile player than Bam Adebayo doesn't make sense. It's just not true. That's objectively incorrect. Now, what he did in the postseason was phenomenal. I mean, I could give you that, but it wasn't because he was switching out crazy. It's because of his ability, like you said, his shot blocking and his interior presence, and that's something that I will admit that he's better than him at. But the facet of the game, which I think is more crucial, is your ability to be versatile and your ability to guard up one-on-one on both the interior and the perimeter. So if you have a guy who's both better at guarding at the interior and the perimeter, along with good roaming capabilities and good shot blocking capabilities, I don't understand how he's not a better defender. Does he get to talk in this thing too, or is it just me?
2 minutes and 2 minutes, yeah.
After 2 minutes,
yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
That's all you got to say because you ain't saying a lot, Dub. Look, when you talk about Bam, all you're saying is that he better on the perimeter. All you're saying is you're just claiming statements with no substance. Look, when you talk about who's better, you better bring up some efficiency. You better bring up some numbers to actually validate how he's better. Because what I'm saying is when it comes to what he does on the court, the impact of AD, understand this. Bam Adebayo has Jimmy Butler, one of the best perimeter defenders on his team. AD got D'Lo, Austin Reeves out here, and the only guy that was decent last season was Dennis Schroeder, and he ain't moving no needle for the Toronto Raptors right now. So at the end of the day, when you talk about that, and he's carrying LeBron, who everybody knows in year 20 and 21 ain't playing defense like that, and he's carrying that team to the best playoff defense in the NBA, top 10 defense in the regular season, the best defense after the trade. And when you get Jared Vanderbilt, now you improve that much. AD, even before that, was carrying that defense. So his impact is evident on that team. They got no elite defenders outside of Jared Vanderbilt before that trade. Dennis Schroeder was not that. Austin Reeves is below average. D'Lo is one of the worst guard defenders in the NBA, and he's still showing you that production and that impact in terms of carrying that team. One player, rarely in NBA history. The question shouldn't be today, is AD better than Bam on defense? It should be, where is AD ranked all time in NBA history when it comes to defense? It ain't about Bam Adebayo. It's about David Robinson. It's about Hakeem Olajuwon. It's about Patrick Ewing. It's about the greatest defenders in the NBA. That's who we should be comparing with AD. AD's impact on interior and the exterior is huge. And when you have an interior presence like AD, that changes the way players play. Just because you could switch out and you might be a little more agile with your feet, right? And have a little more lateral quickness doesn't mean that you affect the defense like AD does, or offense like AD does. The opponent's team's offenses get cut short. They don't go to the rim as much. They become jump shot dependent. And that results in L's. Shout out to the Golden State Warriors.
Wow, that got intense. That got intense.
Hey man,
The chat's going crazy. How do you feel about that, Dub? What you think?
It's just a lot of lies, but it's okay.
No,
A lot of it's
don't do
just
that, Dub.
lies.
Don't do that.
No, I'm
Don't do that.
serious.
Don't,
Like you always
do that.
lying. It's crazy to
Don't
me.
do that. That wasn't lying, bro. That was straight facts, man.
No, you lied. You lied about a
It was
few
straight
things.
facts. Hey, I was dropping facts.
Because Bam
Facts.
Adebayo has shown the ability to be the defense be great even without Jimmy Butler and even Kyle Lowry and those guys being there. But okay, like he's done that already
Really?
numerous
In
times.
playoff runs, he's done that in playoff runs. Okay.
You talking about playoff runs? AD had a good defensive team. You acting like LeBron was a negative on defense, or Vando was still playing, and Hachimura played great. So what are you talking about? They still had a good defensive group.
None of those players are called elite.
And
defenders.
Austin Reeves isn't great. Austin Reeves is a good defender too. They have a good.
Austin Reeves is a good defender now. See,
and Rui,
I'm
you acting like Rui Hachimura. You acting like Rui Hachimura.
Austin Reeves gets cooked every time he's on the court, Dub. He got cooked in FIBA, Dub. Don't cap to the people like that. Don't do that, Dub. Don't do that.
But you acting like the Lakers are a bad.
He was getting cooked by German players, bro. Don't talk.
So LeBron's
about
a bad defender now. LeBron's a bad defender now.
Austin Reeves. Hey, LeBron is a below average defender in terms of the league right now. If you watch LeBron play, he taking possessions off defense. He ain't trying like that. He ain't rotating. He ain't closing out. He ain't doing all that. So AD got to play his man. AD got to help. AD got to rebound. AD got to block shots.
So what was Jokic doing against the Nuggets? Was he playing his man? Because he was getting cooked by his man. He put Rui on him, and then he started rolling.
Yeah, just like
Jokic.
In the finals,
Bam out of but Bam's actually taking on.
Right?
Yeah, but Bam's actually taking on the one-on-one matchup and trying to contain these guys instead of just being a roamer. Like that just shows to his ability.
AD took that matchup. The defensive schemes didn't work. One of the reasons why, Dub, was when you get one-on-one with Jokic and you're contesting shots, they're getting offensive rebounds because we don't have any other great rebounder on the
Judge
team.
one got Africa
gotta play the deep individual.
Judge one favored in Africa 2-1 for us in the battle so far. Judge 2 went Africa 2-1 as well. So it looks like he won that first debate. Melissa, I think you got the next topic for us.
Yeah. Okay. So we're on to the next topic. So who has the better career? Dub's got CP3. Young Africa has Dwyane Wade. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I'll go first since Dub went first. I'll go first. You know, we'll keep it straight, Dub. But look, man, disrespectful question, Dub. Look, D Wade career versus Chris Paul. Look, 3 NBA championships. We know the accolades. Finals MVP, one of the greatest NBA Finals performances in 2006. Right, as a young up and coming player. 35 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, one of the greatest performances of all time in terms of playoff finals performances, carrying a team, certifying his status as one of the greatest finals performers ever, one of the more clutchest players ever. He was down 0-2 in that series and came back and ran the deck for straight wins, right? Something that CP3 don't do. How many 2-0 losses has CP3 had in up 2-0 and lost in the playoffs? How many times? You know how many times, Dub. Too many times. Look, he had an amazing game 3. You know, when you down 0-2, right? Let me just talk about the moments instead of all the skill sets. We know what they do. When you down 0-2 in the NBA Finals, you know what D-Wade does? He drops 42 points in that game. He drops 13 points in the fourth quarter and leads his team to victory, Dub. That's what great plays do. All-time great plays do. The separation here is skill sets. They both have all-time great skill sets. They both are all-time great players. They both have great regular season numbers. They both have great playoff numbers. They both got accolades. They both got individual achievements, all that, right? But what happens when it's all matters most in the playoffs and in the biggest moments? We've seen CP3 come up short too many times, and we've seen D-Wade, a young D-Wade, come up big time in his first finals appearance, bro. Stop it, man. We ain't never seen CP3 do that.
So yeah, this is the funny part because he had actually a phenomenal finals performance in 2021 in the finals at an older age. The only reason that was kind of negated because Giannis Antetokounmpo won a historic run, but he did show out against there. He showed out against the Los Angeles Lakers at a young age as well on the Hornets and performed at a great level then. He also showed out in 2018 against arguably the greatest team of all time in the Golden State Warriors, playing great defense and handling the offense at a great margin. So to say that Chris Paul hasn't shown, and also against the Spurs, him and game winner on the Spurs that we also forgot about. So the moments that you talk about, there's moments that CP3 has, you know, and the issue is if you're a guy that thinks that LeBron James is a GOAT, if you a guy that has Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as like a top 3 player and you value longevity, I don't understand why people don't value longevity as much as it is. Chris Paul is in his 19th season right now, and a large portion of his years he was spent as playing at an all-star level. I mean, he showed the ability. He took an Oklahoma City Thunder team, a team that was supposed to be a bottom 5 team, to the playoffs. So you talking about the impact and what he was doing. I mean, look at what he was doing with the supporting cast that wasn't supposed to be great. I mean, if Chris Paul had a guy in Shaquille O'Neal at that stage of his career, there's some things that could be said that he could have made a great run into. And also packing him next to LeBron James as a second option to him. I mean, Chris Paul almost beat the greatest team of all time as a second option to James Harden. So what are we talking about?
Like you said, almost. That's really the word that defines CP3's career, Bama. Almost, bro. Almost did that. Almost did this. Look, if CP3 played with Shaq, he would have did this or that, right? What we do know is the facts. CP3 had Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan All-NBA, Blake Griffin All-NBA, and you know what happened? He was up 3-1 against Josh Smith and Corey Brewer, up 19 points, and choked the lead, bro. Hey, at the end of the day, we see CP3 in the clutch do those things too many times. That high IQ that you're talking about, the assist to turnover ratio that you're talking about, the point guard turns into the fucking choke guard when it comes to the playoffs. It's crazy, bro, because at the end of the day, bro, that turnover that he had against OKC, the foul that he had in the Bucks series in the finals on Giannis, the turnovers that he had fumbling the ball in the finals, these things occur in the clutch. CP3 is a great point guard, all-time great point guard. But when you compare him to D-Wade, one of the most clutchest plays in NBA history, and then you pull up CP3, low-key, a.k.a. the choke guy, and you compare him and his resume, it ain't even close, bro. You got to put it in context, and you have to tell the truth, Doug. He hasn't done enough when it means the most. And so every time you look at that, just remind the people about what happened against the Houston Rockets when you're talking about he almost beat the Golden State Warriors, but he lost to Josh Smith and Corey Brewer while James Harden was sitting on the bench up 19 points, bro, thinking that it was about to be a blowout. That shit's embarrassing, and I got a little more for you a little later, though.
Yeah, this is a funny guy coming from a LeBron fan that talks about wins and losses and everything that come from a player. It talks about defending the 4-6 record which he had, and LeBron James just being just a better player than Michael Jordan. It's just contradicting, and people love doing these contradicting arguments with players that they sit here and want to favor. I try my best to keep the consistency with everything, right? Because you don't sit here and acknowledge the fact that Chris Paul sitting here playing well against the 2021 in the finals at the biggest stage in the ball, playing well against the Milwaukee Bucks, playing well against the Golden State Warriors, playing well against the Utah Jazz when his guy Blake Griffin was getting hurt. And you bring up them blowing a 3-1 lead. Lo and behold, Chris Paul was hurt in that series as well. So again, if you're a guy that sit here and talks about LeBron James being this, LeBron James being that, and sit here and gloss over his 4-6 record in the finals, which I agree to when we're talking about these guys as players, I don't expect you to bring these nonsensical arguments about people winning, losing, because you understand that there's more that goes into winning and losing than those players. It's just a contradicting argument that LeBron fans like Young Africa has, and they want to sit here and pick and choose who they want to give the wins and losses argument to, instead of just keeping the consistency all across the board. Chris Paul's had the longer the career, and even at their best, there's some things that Chris Paul does at his best better than Dwyane Wade, like shooting from the mid-range and the 3-point, like passing and playmaking and facilitating. That's better. And he's not and even though D-Wade's a better defender, he's a good defender in his own aspect and a good finisher as well. So Chris Paul, as a player, we got to sit here and acknowledge that he definitely does have a case to be better all time.
Look, Doug. The only thing that LeBron and CP3 have in common is that CP3 is the first player in NBA history to not lose not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5 7-game series when he was up 2-0. He lost 5 7-game series when he was up 2-0 and only playing NBA history. So when you talk about what he has done, let's just look at the context, because like you said, D-Wade, the greatest shot blocking guard in NBA history, leads the NBA in NBA history in terms of blocks, right? But let's look at their context of their careers, right? Because you want to mention about losses in LeBron James. Look, LeBron in those losses had all-time great series. That's not what CP3 did. He had huge moments where he did not come up short. He came up short. And people cook LeBron in 2011 when he came up short. But CP3 got a career of 2011s when you talk about the context of his career. So let's look at the context of D-Wade versus CP3, right? In 32 career playoff series, right? D-Wade won 22 series and lost 10. CP3 in 27 playoff series is 12-15. The man, guys, 3 games below 500 when it comes to playoff series in his career. The man has lost more series than he has won in his life, bro. Talking about the impact. The individual player that's the best player on the team, he has the biggest impact when it comes to winning or losing at the end of the day. And even though it's not totally his fault, he still has the biggest impact. And so he shares the biggest credit when they win, and he shares the biggest credit when they lose. Let's keep going though. Hey, in closeout games, D-Wade's record 21-9, 21 wins, 9 losses. CP3's record in closeout games 12-14. Look, this is a trend, Dub. This ain't all on him, but this is a trend that leads you to see that when CP3's on a squad and there's a closeout game, elimination game, big moment, all that playmaking, facilitating, assist to turnover ratio goes out the window, and point guard becomes choke guard because he doesn't get it done. And that ain't my fault. That's just the facts, right? So when you talk about D-Wade, understand the context of his career, being all-time great, being clutch, coming through and coming up big in those closeout games, like I said. So
this just doesn't make sense coming from a LeBron fan, because you understand that the teams in which they had are just completely different. D-Wade having LeBron James next to him, which plays a part into that playoff record that you're talking about, that's something that needs to be accounted for. Also, you want to talk about him having Shaquille O'Neal, that needs to be accounted for either. Would it be surprised you that without those two players, his record in the postseason isn't that great? Why is that? Well, it's mainly because he didn't have the pieces necessary to be great. So don't give a playoff record when it includes players that are that great and players that Chris Paul did not have the benefit of playing with. I want to talk about winning and impact of winning and what these guys was doing. Chris Paul leading the Oklahoma City Thunder, leading the Clippers, and even while the Clippers are battling injuries and being hurt, he's still performing at a great level to sit here and put his team in a position to win. Now, you would agree, just because your team is being hurt doesn't mean I need to negate you and shit on you as a player. No, absolutely not, because you would hold that same level with LeBron James in 2015, but you do not do that. Nobody does that, because that's a stupid thing to do. So Chris Paul and the time span in which he's been playing for a whole entire career, and him being able to impact the crew on both, the Hornets has seen their best days with Chris Paul, the Clippers have seen their best days with Chris Paul, the Suns have seen their best days with Chris Paul. That Chris Paul is a common denominator because of that. Now, just because he did not win a championship, that means that he's not that great of a player? No, that's just an incorrect thing to do, especially a guy in D-Wade. When we want to talk about, D-Wade was a second option to LeBron James. And D-Wade was a second option to LeBron James. And with Chris Paul as a second option to James Harden, he did not lead historic offenses. He did not lead historic defenses as well. He did not sit here and go toe-to-toe with one of the greatest teams of all time. Well, Chris Paul as a second option with James Harden, who is by far a lesser player than LeBron James, he was able to do that. It goes to show you how great that man really is on both the offensive end and the defensive end.
We're on to voting now, right, Bama?
Yeah, this should be voting. I think that last 2 minutes should have been voting, but I think this one is it right here.
Hey, you really believe this, though? You really believe this, right? That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I don't see the consistency you have in acknowledging.
No, it's not the same, because CP3 was CP3 all-time great in those losses. Well, when he lost to Corey Brewer and Josh Smith, were these all-time great in his loss?
He was hurt.
No.
And even D-Wade, like against Chicago, he wasn't all-time great when he didn't have the pieces necessary for him. But against the Lakers, he was all-time great then. Like, D-Wade has had teams that were just good enough to sustain that greatness, But even times when he's not around those teams, he's not performing to that all-time great level. So it doesn't make sense.
Yes, he was. He played the Atlanta Hawks in the late 2000s. Had an all-time.
Oh no, not
great
Chicago.
Career.
It was Atlanta.
Right?
It was Atlanta.
Atlanta
that
Hawks,
wasn't all.
Was cooking, right?
Let me double check. I'll double check right now for you.
Go ahead. I'm pretty sure it was like first round against the Hawks in the late 2000s. He was cooking the Celtics too in a series that he lost. I couldn't name series that he lost in, and that he still played.
Yeah, that's the series. No, he wasn't all time great. He wasn't all time great in that series.
Versus the Hawks.
Well. No, he wasn't.
He was amazing, bro. Stop it, bro.
No, I'm telling you, he wasn't all time great. You're talking about all time great. You shooting 42%. It's not all time great. This is not. Him against Chicago, even with Shaq, it's not all time great. Against Boston, Boston's a better argument. He played all-time great.
Judge 2 has Africa.
2010. I'm talking about 09 against Atlanta too. Hey,
Judge 1 has Africa 2-1. Chat look like they going with Africa as well. Chat went with Young Africa 67%. Judge 2 went with Africa 2-1. Judge 1 went with Africa 2-1 as well, and the chat went with Africa 67% to 33%.
On to our last topic.
On to the last topic, Miss Melissa.
All right. Last topic is Wilt Chamberlain, top 5 of all time. Dub says yes. Africa says no.
Yeah, I think Wilt Chamberlain is if you're gonna sit here and respect the older generation and relative to era arguments, Wilt Chamberlain is undeniably a top 5 player of all time. It doesn't make sense to me how a guy who's a top 2, who in his time is probably a top 2 scorer or top 1 scorer, depending on how you feel about Jerry West, the best rebounder in the game, and also a top 1 to top 2 defender in the league as well. It doesn't make sense to me that a guy like that does not have a case to sit here and have a top 5 player argument. Because if we look throughout NBA history, there's not a lot of guys that sit here and can say that they were a top 2 in that many aspects of the game. That's something Kobe hasn't done. That's something Tim Duncan hasn't done. That's something Bill Russell hasn't done. That's something Larry Bird hasn't done. Magic Johnson hasn't done. It's something a lot of players in the NBA, and that's 5 players right there. That's in the majority of people's all top 5, top 10 right there. So none of these guys has able to been doing that, and the historic performances that he was able to do in the postseason when the lack of help against great defenses as well. I mean, that's something that nobody talks about. They just crap on him because he did not win or get the job done. I just think that's a lazy argument because he did win again on Phoenix, and he did win. I'm not Phoenix, on the Philadelphia, and he did win in the later stage of his career. So that validates him as a player, I would assume, for everyone else. So Wilt Chamberlain doing that many things in his time is something that just needs to be more credit to.
Look, man, Doug, if you're an all-time top 5 player, right? You know what I expect from that type of guy? A guy that is elite in the regular season and raises his level in the playoffs, dude. You got to raise your level in the playoff. If you're all-time top 5, you got to be a playoff riser. And Wilt Chamberlain is not that. Wilt Chamberlain in his career averaged 30 points and 20 rebounds, right? And then in the playoffs, it goes down to 22 points and 24 rebounds, right? So he goes down like 8 points in the playoffs. And then in the finals, he goes down even further to 18 points and 24 rebounds. The man goes from 30 points in the regular season to 18 points in the finals. The 2 rings that Wilt Chamberlain did win, he was 5th in scoring, 5th highest scorer on his team, right? And in the second ring that he won, he was the 3rd highest scorer behind Jerry West and Gail Goodrich, bro. This man was not the number 1 piece to the winning the championship. This man, many people could say, was less is more with you, Wilt Chamberlain. You do less, the team will do more. A lot of people claim Luka Doncic is that type of guy in this modern era. You might say that he was the first type of high usage player in NBA history that showed you can't win like that, Dub. So at the end of the day, if you're not a playoff riser and you fall in the playoffs by 8 points and then you get to the finals and your shit is at 18 points per game and your efficiency goes down, nah, you can't be no top 5 player all time, Dub. And then there's the era tax. Then there's the ability of like your teammates and how they were so good in terms of you playing with
So like I said, dude is just lying. Yeah, he averaged 18 points a game in the finals against the Warriors. And that's because at that point in time, he was playing off of his teammates. You're not going to talk about what he did in the Eastern Conference against the Boston Celtics unit and Bill Russell, because you don't want to talk about that because he was actually giving you a triple-double, giving you 21 and having 32 rebounds in that game. You want to talk about what he did in the first round, it was 28 points he gave you in the first round as well against the Cincinnati Royals. Now, just because he had 18 points a game in the finals, that means he wasn't that great. Well, the man was the leading scorer of the crew in the regular season. He was the best rebounder of the crew, and you could say even in that stage he was probably the best passer and playmaker of that crew as well. So just because he scored 18 points a game, that means that he's not the best player. No, that's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Because at the end of the day, he allowed those guys to get off because at that stage of career, he knew that it was time to sit here and allow his teammates to be successful, and he already did what he had to do against the Boston Celtics, so that doesn't make sense. And Wilt Chamberlain, what he was doing against the Boston Celtics crew and just in the playoffs in general, if the man is going from 37 to 35 points a game, he's still playing at a great level. If the man is sitting here going from 50 to 30-something points a game, that's still at a great level. So just because he drops to himself, which is all-time great levels, to still one of the best postseason performers in all time, that still doesn't make sense to negate him because he was still going up against great defense and cooking the Boston Celtics. He gave Bill Russell 30 and 30 before.
Young Africa.
But everything I said was straight facts. Look, and Dub admitted it. He goes down from the regular season to the playoffs, and then when he goes to the finals, it goes down even further. Ain't no NBA top 5 all-time player is doing that. Jordan ain't doing that. LeBron ain't doing that. Kareem ain't doing that. Hakeem ain't doing that. Magic ain't doing that. Bird ain't doing that to the levels of what Wilt Chamberlain did it, right? If you understand this, in 1969, in the middle of Wilt Chamberlain's prime, him in the first season with the Lakers playing with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, right? And Dub talk about, hey, just because he did it one time. This man with Elgin Baylor and Jerry West averaged 11 points per game after leading the team in scoring that regular season. Can you imagine a player in the modern day, right, who leads his team in scoring, that goes to the finals with 2 All-NBA Hall of Fame type players, right, in 1969, and he averages 11 points in the finals, and you telling me that he going to be all-time top 5? No. And he does that consistently in his career? No. And so at the end of the day, there's 5 players clearly better than him, and I'm telling you this. In that era with the highest pace of all time, these numbers are inflated. If you adjust Wilt Chamberlain's numbers to per 100 possessions or to per 36 numbers, because the man played 48 minutes a game, essentially, if you do that, he averages something like 26 points, 11 rebounds, and maybe 5-6 blocks or whatever it may have been, right? So it's still amazing, but it ain't the crazy numbers because the inflated stats and the brick heavy.
Again, that it's just a contradicting statement from a LeBron fan, because we act like LeBron James in 2011 did not sit here and play bad, did not sit here and have runs where he did put up a stinker. Shit happens, even happened in the finals. That's literally the one time, literally the one and only time where Wilt Chamberlain has had that, and that's from the and that's in the second half of his career. Wilt Chamberlain has sit here and showed you the consistency of giving you 28, giving you 30 and 30, giving you great defense as well, and even them great playmaking as well throughout the whole entirety of the season and other finals that he has shown that. So you harping on one thing to negate Wilt Chamberlain, but it doesn't make sense for me because you don't harp on one thing with LeBron James and what he did in 2011 to negate him. You still call him the GOAT. You still call him the greatest of all time, and that's fine for me. I'm calling Wilt Chamberlain a top 5 player. Again, give me an example. Give me 5 examples of a guy being a top 1 to 2 scorer, top 1 to 2 defender, and also the best rebounder in the game with great playmaking ability for a substantial amount of time. Newsflash, there's not a lot. There's not a lot at all. It's probably Wilt Chamberlain is one of the few people to do that in NBA history. So Wilt Chamberlain doing that for that amount of time, about like 7 to 10 years of being that impactful on that many sides of the game, something that Tim Duncan, Shaq, Kobe, Magic, Bird, all of these guys have not done. Well, shit. It goes to show you how great he was doing. It goes to show you how revolutionizing he was doing, when even in that standard, there's nobody in the league. There's not a lot of players in the league that has been able to replicate what he did in his time. So again, if you're a LeBron guy and don't want to sit here and hold 2011 and hold LeBron James to the fire and why he's not the GOAT, I don't expect you to hold 1969 as a way to sit here and say Wilt Chamberlain is not a top 5 player. That doesn't make sense to me.
That's not enough. Look, this is the context. First off, he averaged 18 points per game in the finals for his whole career, Doug. For all 6 finals appearances, averages out to 18 points per game. It ain't just 1 year. That 1 year that I mentioned was 11 points. And this is a difference, right? LeBron James averaged 16, 17 points in the finals, right? And he played bad against Dallas and choked, right? And then goes on a run of 7 straight finals where he averages 30-point triple-double essentially on ridiculous efficiency. That's the difference, Doug. Wilt Chamberlain never did that. Never recorrected the errors in his prime. He consistently underperformed compared to his regular season and his playoffs, bro. That's just a fact in terms of the averages of what he put up. And so at the end of the day, this is the context, right? If you look at Wilt Chamberlain's numbers, all the people in the world that are listening, right? And you understand the ridiculous numbers that he put up, 30 points and 20 rebounds for his career, right? That's ridiculous numbers, all-time great numbers. Do you know how many possessions in the game there were? There were 130 possessions on average a game for a lot of those seasons. 100 between 120 and 130 games. You know how many possessions there are in the modern NBA today that we call fast-paced game? About 100 possessions a game. Last season, the league leader in pace was the Golden State Warriors at 101 possessions a game. Can you imagine Steph Curry getting an extra 30 possessions a game, Dub? Can you imagine Luka Doncic getting an extra 30 possessions a game, Dub? Can you imagine LeBron James getting an extra 30 possessions a game, Dub? Can you imagine all these great offensive players in our modern day getting the extra 30 possessions a game, playing the extra 5 minutes a game, and doing all that? The statistical achievements would be amazing. But at the same time, the competition is kind of different. Why can you do that? Why can we go to you and you score 100 points in a game, Dub? Why can you do all that during the regular season? Because what? Teams can't stop you. The competition ain't the same. We're talking about the segregation era. They ain't even all the African brothers that look like Bama can't even get into the league, bro. It's kind of crazy. So when we put it into context, the numbers are skewed, the pace in the area is skewed, and the competition ain't what it is, man.
Yo, that's it. We're on the fan voting now. I mean, Melissa, this was tough.
But both sides have pretty good points.
Yeah.
We did kind of. We talked a lot of.
Do you have Kareem top 3, young Africa? Do you have Kareem Abdul top 3?
No, I do not.
Top 5?
That's debatable. I personally think Hakeem is better than Kareem. I got Hakeem over Kareem, if you're asking me. Top 5. Kobe over Kareem, to be honest.
I agree.
But
I'm not gonna lie,
shout out to you, Doug, man. Look, Doug. You should have. See. It might
Judge
not have been
2
like
got
this.
Dub. This just in. Judge 2
Oh,
has Dub. Judge 1 has Africa 2-1. Gotta look at the chat. Let's check and see who the chat got so far. Chat got Africa 64% or 36% so far.
Hey, Doug, man.
You
shouldn't have been, this was all, Bama, this all started when I debated ticket, you know what I mean? And Dub came through, slid through for the final vote. And, I thought I bought a ticket, but, ticket put up a fight. And Dub had the final vote, and he had the swing vote, and he swung it to Ticket's side. Ticket got the dub in that situation. So this is retribution, this is vengeance. This is something that karma comes back around, Dub. You should always do the right thing because the right thing would be done to you. But you did the wrong thing, and the wrong thing had to happen today, man. Like, it is what it is.
Judge 1 got dubbed 3-0. I'm sorry. L host by Ron. You texting too much. Bro, you texting a million things. It's old.
But it's cool.
Judge
so how can a playoff drop?
So like Dub won that last round. Young Africa won. Dub won the last round with the judge. Judge 1 and 2, and it looked like the chat voted with Africa.
That's cool.
That's cool.
So how you got a playoff dropper in the top 5 all time? Do you consider Wilt Chamberlain a playoff dropper? What do you consider?
That doesn't make sense to say that he's a playoff dropper. Just because you go from a historically crazy offensive outputs, but still giving you 28 to 30, and when you compare that to the rest of the league, he's doing top 2 to top 1 in the postseason. It's not a playoff dropping. His level is just that much higher than everyone else, and he's performing at that high level. The stupidest thing to do is compare these guys to themselves and try to be like, oh, just because compare him to himself, he's not better than this player. That's the dumbest thing. If my low was still better than everybody else in the league, that doesn't. What does that have to mean? Why am I going to compare myself to everyone else?
If you win and do that, Doug, you got a point. If you win and do that,
yo, fellas, I gotta step in. I gotta step in. I gotta mute y'all because we gotta move on to the next battle. Y'all had y'all time. I'm gonna give you guys some closing remarks to make, though. Dub, what do you got to say in conclusion? Unfortunately, you lost today, 2-1. But what closing remarks?
That'll be easy, bro.
All right, that's that. Yo, Africa. You got the dub today on the big platform. How you feeling? Talk to us.
Hey, man. Look, man. I said what I was going to do, man. Shout out to Dub, man. Ain't nothing personal, though. We're talking the game, and, it's all love, though, man. Shout out to PC. Look, it's what I do, man. People act like I can't talk to you. It's what I do, man. Hey, Bama. It's what I do, man. Sorry I have to bag your boy up and talk that loud shit, but, I really feel that. I feel what I really say. And so at the end of the day, what I said all today, no cap, all facts, and it come from right here, man. So, salute to his PC. It's all love.
That's
love. All right, Africa. All right.
You know what I did.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. You're the player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.